Hi, I'm John Alder for DIYPhotography.net and I'm with Jacob from Panasonic and we're here at the photography show to check out the new GX9. So Jacob, are you having a good show so far?
Yeah, the show's been great. Been run off our feet.
Yeah, a lot of interest in the GH5S, I bet.
GH5S, G9, GX9. It's been crazy. A lot of people interested in 100 to 400, wildlife, that kind of thing. So,
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
Brilliant. Well, you've got the GX9 with you right now, so why don't you run us through the specs and tell us about it.
For those familiar with the GX8 and the GX7, the GX9 kind of returned back to the GX7 form factor. A lot of people said that they wanted a smaller compact camera for street photography. So Panasonic decided to go back to that kind of favoured size. But what they've done is they've incorporated the sensor from the G9. So you've got really sharp 20 megapixel sensor with no low pass filter. You've kept some of the things from the GX8, like the exposure compensation dial, but you've gone, like I say, you've gone back to the small size, and you've gone back to the tilting screen. So if you're shooting on the street, it's more discreet. You haven't got the screen hanging out. Like all of the Panasonic cameras, you've got touchscreen, silent shutter, especially. I'm doing mainly travel photography, people photography, so it's really good for that. You can be super discreet. And then the other major thing is they've brought in a grain mode. So if people are shooting JPEGs or they're shooting for social media, this kind of thing, it's actually got like a film emulation for the grain. And surprisingly, I did a few tests and it looks really kind of organic. You can choose from 3 different levels, I think, low, medium, high. But it really does, it looks like grain rather than digital noise, which is nice if you want black and white and the grain straight out of camera.
Panasonic's the last few years has been getting pretty legendary for its video capabilities.
Yeah.
What's the video like in the GX9?
Video in GX9, it's not a video camera specifically, it's been designed mainly for photographers, but you've got 4K video in there. And you've got a stabilizer which is 5-axis.
Right. And that works in combination with lenses that have stabilization built in as well?
It will do, yeah. On the ones with the dual IS1 it will do. It won't do dual IS2, which the G9 will do.
Right.
That only really makes a difference at the extreme telephotos, but this camera is more designed for smaller zooms, smaller primes. I use it a lot with the Leica 15mm prime. Small, compact and discreet is kind of the key message of this camera, I think.
Brilliant. Awesome. Brilliant. So when it is shooting video, it shoots 4K. What kind of bit rates can it get up to?
So you're getting 100 megabits per second. So if anyone's familiar with GH4, it's kind of the same bit rate as a GH4.
Okay.
So it's good quality. It's not a GH5. But if you're a photojournalist, street photographer who wants to pick off a few bits of video as you're traveling or as you're going around, then it's going to be good quality.
Yeah.
It's just not really dedicated video.
And for lower resolutions like 1080p, what kind of frame rates does it offer?
So you have a number of different ones, but they're all around 20 megabits per second to 28 megabits per second.
Right. And what sort of frame rates?
And you've got up to 60p and 1080.
Brilliant.
So it's nice, for slow-mo. And if you're shooting a documentary, things like that, a lot of people like to use the full HD anyway to save on the data rates. But yeah, it's a really nice small camera.
Brilliant. Fantastic. So I've noticed we've also got the GH5S on the stand. The GH5, great camera for video. The GH5S is a little bit more geared towards it.
Yeah.
Tell us about the differences between the 5 and the 5S.
Okay, so with the 5S, the kind of core aim of the camera is for higher performance in low light. So Panasonic got a lot of feedback about the GH5 performance in low light. They're saying it's a great camera, the features are good, but I'd like a little bit more performance in high ISO.
Yeah, and this was like a dual native ISO.
Yeah, so if anyone's familiar with the bigger Varicams, they had a technology which gave the camera 2 native ISOs. With this one, if you're shooting in Vlog, you're getting native ISOs of 400 and 5000. Basically means that the dynamic range is going to be pretty much the same at both levels. Noise performance is much better. The sensor is actually bigger in this than the GH5,
Right.
slightly. You get about, I think it's around 10% increase, so the field of view is a little bit wider. What that allows you to do is when you're changing aspect ratio, the field of view stays the same.
Yeah.
So it's the multi-aspect sensor.
And am I right in thinking that's a native 4K sensor, isn't it? Like the resolution of it?
It's a 10 megapixel sensor, so it's a little bit more than 4K, but you're not, like on the GH5, you're getting downscaling from a 6K sensor. You don't get that with this.
Right.
But what you do get is a faster readout, so less rolling shutter. They've removed the stabilizer. There's two reasons for doing so. A lot of feedback from production companies saying when they're using it on car mounts, the IBIS with the magnets, even when you turn it off, if you've got micro vibrations, it affects the sensor. So it's a fixed sensor, same as any other cinema camera. And also because of the multi-aspect ratio sensor, there's less room in the body. So to add IBS as well, it would have had to be a bigger body.
Yeah.
You've also got, if you're shooting like higher end production, there's a cable that comes in the box which will take from the flash port out into a timecode sync. So if you're recording audio separately, you can sync it up in camera.
And presumably as well, if you're doing multicam, you can link several ones together.
Yeah, you can daisy chain it. So it's really good for multicam productions where you're running separate audio and integrating it into a workflow where maybe you've got bigger, higher end Varicams, this kind of thing, and using it as a B-roll, crash cam, mount it in cars and small spaces. That's kind of what it's designed for.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you're a single shooter as well, it's going to give you the performance near enough of a cinema camera that costs 5, 6, 7 times the price in a tiny body. So it's a really special camera.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, thank you very, very much.
Yeah, cheers.
So I'm John Aldred, we're at the photography show. We're going to keep looking around and see what else we can find. We'll see you in the next one.
If you like some more cool movies, you can check out this one, and you can subscribe to us down here.